For coming to our Exploring Study Abroad workshop. My name is Jasmine, and I'm one of the academic advisors within the Undergraduate Student Advising Office. This week has been International Education Week, so it seemed like one of the best times to get started talking about studying abroad. We had some people that attended the Go Abroad Fair yesterday. If there's anyone on Zoom that attended the Go Abroad Fair yesterday as well, feel free to share. But yeah, we're going to be going over just like how to get started with studying abroad, what it means to study abroad as a social science major, and just like a general information session for how to approach study abroad. Some of you may only be thinking about studying abroad, whereas some of you may already be applying or accepted for any programs. So it's really beneficial. So first is why study abroad. Obviously, there's the academic enrichment benefits of studying abroad, such as you can fulfill major requirements. As a social sciences major, there's also many requirements that you can cover. So it fits pretty well with our majors here. Aside from the academic benefits, there's also personal benefits. Perhaps you just want to explore another country, or maybe you're interested in learning another language. There's also career benefits. It's something that you can put on your resume and looks great to companies when you're applying for jobs. It's also an experience where perhaps you're doing an internship while abroad. So when it comes to approaching study abroad, while it is great that you can cover major requirements, note that as a social sciences major, our school is pretty okay with students going abroad, even if they're not covering major requirements. Perhaps if you wanted to do like your minor abroad, or even if you just wanted the experience, we're totally okay with that, so long as you're making good progress with your major requirements here. Now, for as to how to study abroad, we're really not going to go over this too much, only because this area is something that's better suited for the study abroad center. So what's important to know are the different steps for how to study abroad. First is that you usually start about 9 months or like a year in advance. Right now, applications are open for students that want to study abroad for fall of next year or for the year programs at Study Abroad. You can start by visiting the Study Abroad Center, and you'll learn that there's actually 2 applications when it comes to studying abroad. One is a UCI Abroad Profile, which is the Study Abroad Center's application, and then the other application would be for the actual program that you plan to attend. For the sake of this presentation, we're really going to focus on UC EAP programs, mainly because when it's a program through UC EAP, we already know that the courses are going to transfer all the credit. Classes taken through UC EAP also count towards your GPA, and as I said before, like you know that you'll get units. If you do a UC EAP program, financial aid is also applicable. There are some other options such as independent programs, meaning that they're not already UC approved, but it's something that you can search and look into. If you're interested in an independent program, that's something where you definitely want to work hand in hand with the Study Abroad Center. And just note that for an independent program, financial aid is not guaranteed, and it's also not guaranteed that units will transfer. So for today's presentation, we'll focus on UC. During the first 4 steps of how the Study Abroad Center recommends going about studying abroad, you don't necessarily need to visit our office just yet. If anything, I would say continue doing if you visit our office once a year or at least twice a year, you kind of just want to maintain doing progress checks. But it's not until after you've actually been accepted to your program that you want to visit our office. And so once again, we're the Social Sciences Academic Advising Office. And if you visit our office, you'll be able to learn what requirements can be covered abroad versus what cannot be covered. So as I said, you want to visit us. We're doing progress check, making sure that you're on track for graduation. When it comes to the timeline for when you're studying abroad, some students go in as soon as their 2nd year, whereas a lot of students may wait until their final quarter before graduation. So depending on when you want to go, it really kind of affects okay, will I be taking a lot of my classes abroad? Do I want to cover a lot of major requirements? Or is it that you're basically going to finish everything here, and going abroad is more so just for to enjoy yourself, the benefit of going abroad. We'll also tell you the classes to prioritize taking here, because there are certain requirements such as writing that must be done at UCI. There are some classes that you are unable to find while abroad. So then, as for what our office cannot do during appointments or walk-in advising is giving approval for your study abroad classes. I know with how it's written, that sounds very strange. It's like, what's the point of the advising office if we can't tell you what classes count? But this is strictly for like if you're doing an appointment or walk-in advising. Essentially, if you visit our office, we're not able to sit and look at the classes that you have planned, only because it takes some time for the courses to be reviewed. In a moment, I'll go over what are the criteria that we're looking for, but essentially it's like we have to look at the syllabi for courses. Sometimes we may even have to reach out to the department to make sure that the material of the class is suitable for your major. So rather than doing an appointment or walk-in advising for getting course approval, we do have an EAP academic planning tool. So all of this information is on our study abroad page, and it's something that I recommend visiting now, even throughout the whole process of when you're applying to study abroad. Check out our study abroad page. I'll go to it in just a second, but some of the best features of our study abroad page are that we have included the EAP catalog as well as the EAP academic planning tool. So with the EAP catalog, what's very nice about it is that you can see courses that students have previously taken, keeping in mind though that it's only based on what students have chosen to share with the database, but it does give a good idea of like, okay, if I study abroad at this school, these are the types of courses that I'm looking for. Perhaps if you're looking to really cover a lot of major requirements, maybe you're more so searching for a program that has a lot of classes within your major. Or perhaps there's a country that you really want to visit. Some countries with the UC EAP program have a lot of different universities and a lot of different options. So you could use the catalog to compare the different programs, seeing which one would actually benefit you the most for your major. The other thing found on our website is our EAP academic planning tool, which is essentially our Google form for how you can petition your courses. So let's look at that. So here's our website. And if you were to go under our resources tab, this is the study abroad page. Aside from the course credit petition information, if you continue looking at our page, we do have information such as like different resources. We have videos from past returnees. And we do plan to continue editing our website as well as we get more information. Since the lockdown happened, there was like a gap essentially from when students were studying abroad. But since like 2022, we've seen students starting to pick up and go back to studying abroad again. So on our website, you can find the EAP course catalog. And if you're searching for programs through the UC EAP website, you're also able to find the catalog through that section as well underneath the academics. But essentially, when you're on this page, you're able to see like, okay, here are the courses at a specific university, what department they're under, and whether or not a course is like upper division, lower division, and how many units it has. You can also use the different filters here to find, perhaps you want to look for a specific course in general, such as like all the anthropology classes that are offered. I would say even as you're like looking at programs that you want to explore, this is a good website to kind of mess around with and see all its different features. Continue scrolling on our study abroad page and you'll find our EAP academic planning tools. You'll want to click on the one that matches your major. If you have a double major, just click one of them. You can submit information for both majors on the same tool. Same thing for if you have a minor, just submit one of the tools, one of the forms, and we'll get through the courses. It's essentially a Google form asking for general logistics, such as if you have already gone abroad versus if you're filling this out prior to leaving. And we essentially just need this like syllabi for courses. If a class is included on that EAP course catalog, you'll include that link. But we're essentially just asking for as much information as we can so that we can look into whether or not a class can fulfill the requirements. So when it comes to transferring credit for your major, as for the criteria that we're looking at, these are the three like main things we're looking for at first. The first one is whether a class is upper division versus lower division. In general, for a social science major, most of the courses that you'll be taking abroad, like if you want a major requirement to be covered, will be upper division. So we're mainly looking to see if a course transfers as an upper division course. Do you have a question?
Are you muted on purpose?
It's different.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's not me on the TV, but thank you so much. Yeah. We also have someone on Zoom to tell us as well. But yeah, so for classes for your major requirements, we're mainly looking to see if the course transfers over as upper division. For lower division courses, we typically find that those count towards your GE requirements rather than your major. Now, there may be some majors where there is like a lower division course that you can find while abroad, but for the most part, you're looking at upper division classes. The next thing we're looking for is for a class to be at least 4 quarter units. And so what you'll find is that most of the programs offered abroad are semester-based. So just making sure that we're doing the unit conversion correctly and that you have at least 4 quarter units in order for the class to count. And then lastly, same for your classes here. If it's satisfying a major requirement, it must be taken for a letter grade. So the note at the bottom is just stating how this is the minimum criteria, because for some majors, there may be certain other aspects that we have to look into further. I would say like cognitive sciences is one of the majors off the bat where the Department of Cog Sci really has to look into to see, okay, do these psych classes match the material that is needed for a cognitive sciences major? When you take your courses abroad, it actually does take some time, like it could be up to 3 months before a class transfers over and appears on your transcript. So that's why we have the EAP academic planning tool in place. That way that we're able to look and kind of, it's like a preemptive verification. We're essentially saying, okay, we see these classes, some of them we may already have information on and we know that they'll count for a requirement, whereas some of them we may not have information yet. And through you guys petitioning the courses, that's how we build up more information for our database. And so you may get a preemptive approval that states, okay, this class should count so long as when it transfers over, it meets these requirements. Once the class finally appears on your unofficial transcript, that's when we'll know for sure, like, okay, is this course an upper division class? Did you have enough units? And then did you take it for a letter grade? So for the next sections, we're going to go by major by major. Starting off with international studies, and we're essentially going to go in the order of majors where you may find the most courses abroad to majors where I still encourage you to study abroad, but perhaps it's more so that you're taking your classes here at UCI and going abroad for more so personal benefit. So for international studies, we have started off the sections that these are the areas that you can cover while abroad. On the left, it's written kind of in like, not necessarily importance, but like how likely it is. So for sure, you'll have the international field experience requirement covered through studying abroad. It does not necessarily matter if the place that you study at matches your geographic focus. Just the act of participating in a UC EAP program covers international field requirement. Next is the geographic focus, where you need 2 upper division courses. Studying abroad is one of the best ways to fulfill this requirement, since you'll be studying in a country or a region that's of interest of you, and you're able to really immerse yourself in the culture. For the global focus requirement, you're able to find courses for Module B, which is essentially those different approved courses that we look at each quarter. For the global focus section, we're also kind of just looking at overarching classes, such as like international relations, international business. You kind of want to stray away from courses that focus too much on one country in particular. Usually if like, let's say if you're studying abroad in Spain and you're taking a Spain history course, that's something that's more suited for the geographic focus rather than global focus. So in general, I'd say that like geographic focus and international field experience are the 2 things to mainly cover while studying abroad. The other thing that you could potentially cover or at least work towards while abroad would be the language requirement. And so we have some students who perhaps they start taking a language here at UCI and then they study abroad and use their language skills and improve them even further from being able to use that language in the country they're studying at. Once they return, they're then able to either take a placement test or perhaps they're taking a language course while abroad, and that covers the 2B level of language that's needed for this major. On the alternative, we do have some students who they throw themselves into the language first through studying abroad. So perhaps they study abroad in a place where the national language is not English, and they begin abroad, but then when they come back, they're able to take a placement test and jump into a higher level, so that's less classes altogether that they need to take. Next, we have anthropology, political science, and sociology. These ones have been grouped together mainly because the requirements are very similar. So all three of these majors have the additional School of Social Sciences section, where since this section is just so flexible in general, we're able to find like a lot of courses that count for this section while studying abroad. A lot of the courses that you're able to find while abroad usually do tend to be like anthropology, political science, international studies, or sociology. So if you are any of these three majors, this is one section that I recommend waiting or holding back on while you're at UCI. You could cover it while you're abroad. Next is that these three majors also have sections where it's like you just need an upper division course within that department. As you said before, like if you're taking an anthropology course abroad and it's an upper division class, that's 4 units, it will count towards this section. For certain areas, such as like if you need a module course, that's where the department will get back to us and we'll see, okay, does this course count towards this section in particular? But otherwise, in general, it's just if a class is upper division and at least 4 units within the department. Now we have our econ majors. This is for economics, business economics, and quantitative economics. And my recommendation for econ majors is that if you really want to cover a lot of major requirements, there are some schools that our econ majors tend to gravitate towards. One of them right off the bat is like the London School of Economics. I know there's also a program in Hong Kong that offers a lot of econ classes. So when it comes to the econ courses, the classes to hold back on taking at UCI or what you could potentially cover while studying abroad are for the sections where it's just upper division econ classes. Economics is the most flexible of those three majors, but for business economics, we're also able to find courses that are like business econ electives or the management econ electives. From there, that's where we have our econ department letting us know like, okay, this class could potentially count for this requirement, or it's just considered an upper division class. The image on the far right is in red only because for the series courses for econ, there are certain of the series classes that you can take abroad. We have seen students take like classes equivalent to like Econ 15B or Econ 100A abroad, mainly because they're taking like intermediate microeconomics and intermediate macroeconomics classes. Same things for the stats. The only thing though is that we really would recommend taking the series courses at UCI just because it's challenging to find a full series while abroad for economics. The other two is that you may find out while you're studying abroad, that school may have its own prerequisites that need to be met. And so if you take the series courses here, you have a better chance of meeting the prerequisites for when you're studying abroad. The other thing too is that let's say you take one of the courses, I'll use Econ 100A as an example. You could take Econ 100A while studying abroad, and the way that the course is taught may just be very different. So it may be a little bit of a struggle when returning to UCI and having that difference with learning the series. For our BS Psychology and Cognitive Sciences majors, we do have the upper division psych courses that can be covered while abroad. Here, you want to be very flexible. I would say that psych is another one of those majors where perhaps you're looking at a very specific program that does offer a lot of psych courses. Otherwise, if you're a psychology or cognitive science major, perhaps you're doing more so like minor requirements, GEs, or going abroad more so for the experience. For psychology classes taken abroad, occasionally we will find courses that are deemed equivalent to some of the core classes at UCI. So that's something where definitely fill out the academic planning tool. And you'll see after the department reviews it, if the classes have any direct equivalencies versus if you're just considered an upper division course. For language science, we've actually found that a lot of programs abroad offer linguistics courses. And so the areas that you can cover while abroad are like the additional core section. Once again, this major has that additional School of Social Sciences section, so that can be used as well. You can also do a specialization course or classes for the natural and formal language while abroad. For Chicano Latino Studies, this is a major where perhaps you're interested in studying abroad in like Mexico, Chile, or Argentina, and you could cover classes for sections such as like the upper division Chicano Latino Studies courses, or perhaps you're doing the Spanish requirement while you're studying. And then our last major is social policy and public service. This major is one where the functional focus is the only section where you really find courses while studying abroad. So another major where perhaps you're going abroad more so for personal enrichment or to cover classes for a minor. Keep in mind as well too that for some of the majors where there were multiple areas that could be covered abroad, it also kind of depends on like, are you doing a summer program where at most you may be taking 2 classes, or are you studying abroad for a full year where you can come back with like 12 classes? That plays an effect as well. For our next section, we're actually going to do our panel. So I can have Amanda and Matthew come up. I have a few questions already prepared for our panel, and after I go through them, we'll also open it up for Q&A with everyone. But first I'll have everyone do their introductions. You may see me on the screen, I'll go last because I feel like it's a bit awkward since I've been talking so much right now, but we can have you guys start with just an introduction.
Yeah, I can start. I'm Amanda. I am a 4th-year BA psychology major. I studied abroad in the Netherlands during their study abroad program in the summer of I studied in a city called Maastricht. So when you think of Netherlands, you might think of Amsterdam. Maastricht was a 4-hour train ride south of there. So it's less of like the city life, but I still got to visit Amsterdam, which is obviously you can see in this photo here. But I took classes in both business for my minor and neuropsychology for my major.
Yeah, so this is Matthew. I'm double major in sociology and international studies. I plan to go abroad to a program in Geneva, Switzerland in the spring semester, which is the winter quarter and spring quarter UCI. And that program is about the general global studies in the organization capital of Geneva. I do plan to use one of the classes there to fulfill one of my geography focus requirements under the major international studies. So yeah, we do actually take a lot of classes out there to fulfill our major requirements as well. So it's that's like a win-win choice out there.
And then my name is Jasmine. As I said before, I'm one of the academic advisors in our office. Both Amanda and Matthew are current peer advisors in our office. And then we also have another peer advisor whose name is Kiana. To our Zoom participants, you maybe see her keeping or answering some questions and keeping track of our Zoom. Kiana is currently studying abroad in Korea, but she'll be joining us again in winter and spring quarter. And so since Kiana is not here presently, I also include myself for panel, although we'll mainly be directing to Amanda and Matthew since they're more recent. I'm an international studies alum, and I did a semester in Japan at Meiji Gakuin University. So then the first question for you all is, why did you decide to apply to study abroad?
Okay. I never thought that I would be someone who studied abroad. I was very much a homebody and I enjoyed traveling in terms of getting to the destination. But the actual like train ride aspect caused me a lot of anxiety, if I'm gonna be honest. But when I was in my 2nd year, I had 2 friends very close to me and they were planning on studying abroad. So just kind of hearing from them, kind of this exciting thing of still getting credits for your major and also getting like a global experience. I thought that was really cool and I didn't want to miss out on that being a part of my undergrad experience. So I decided to go. And an important part of that was I decided to go to a program that was separate from anything that my friends did, which I know is kind of a different approach. But for me personally, I wanted it to be a very like independent journey, and it definitely was that. I learned a lot about myself, and I did something alone in a space where I didn't know anyone prior, so it was a very meaningful journey for me, and that's why I kind of wanted to take that step in my own personal development.
Yeah, for me, I chose this program. I chose to study abroad because I love Switzerland, I love Geneva. It's like you can do everything on any international organization that can come up to your mind and just I love the city. I feel like okay, it's really appropriate and useful for me to do a global studies program. That's really helpful for my experience, for my major, for my career anyway, and just and that's when and it was when I fell in love with the program in Geneva and yeah, and I started planning it when I was in the first year, and right now I'm doing this my third year, but I started planning it in my first year. I started applying for it during my second year, and when I'm going doing like the visas and everything, this is like timeline of mine.
Similar to Matthew, I started really early, whereas like during SPOP or that summer orientation, that's where I first learned about study abroad. And I was like, what, I could do this? So I always wanted to visit Japan, and so I figured why not put the two together. And then my major being international studies kind of was just like the icing on the cake, where it made it pretty easy to like convince my parents for okay, I'm doing this, and so that's why I chose to study abroad. You guys kind of already mentioned as well, like why you chose your specific program. So then what I want to know is, why is it that, so like Amanda, you studied abroad in summer, and then Matthew, you're going for like winter quarter. I chose fall for a specific reason. So I kind of want each of us to go through and explain why. I can go first. I chose fall because the way how semester works, it lines up pretty well with UCI's timeline. So even though I studied abroad for fall semester, I just started my classes a bit earlier in the summer, and then I was able to be back here for winter and spring quarter. A lot of my friends, since I'm an international studies major, we all kind of chose to go like our junior year. A lot of my friends chose to study abroad for a full year, and I remember being like very jealous that like, oh, I was back already, but they were still out and about doing what. But yeah, my main reason was just so that I had like the most quarters at UCI that I could.
For me, it's just like the only time period of the program is only spring semester, so yeah, there was no such a reason. But just yeah, it's just but I'm fine. So it's like okay, so I feel like the time period is defined. But I feel like okay, I could make it when I was in first year. I thought about it, so it's like okay, I know the timeline is, so I plan for the timeline, so I arrange every schedule I can plan to adjust that plan instead of me like choosing like a specific time period. For most part, I think it's just like you have like you can do like either one semester, either the fall semester or the spring semester, or maybe a whole year, or some programs do offer summer, it could be like summer and fall or something. It's just like every programs are just every program is different.
Yeah.
We should check.
Exactly. Some programs, they only let you go for certain semesters or quarters. I chose summer, kind of similar to Jasmine. I wanted to have as many like quarters physically at UCI as possible. So yeah, doing something in the summer didn't interrupt like my normal fall or spring schedule that I had at UCI. It didn't interrupt any of like really like my leasing situation for living on campus. I was at ACC at the time, and I did a pretty short program. My program was only 6 weeks, so that's less than even a standard quarter at UCI, and it's definitely not like a semester long. For me at the time, I felt like that was best for me. I didn't want to go for super extended amount of time. So yeah, I chose a shorter program, and I still feel like I got to do a lot within that time.
And also in addition, we also offer several programs that are actually program instead of semesters. These programs are in the UC centers, I remember it's like in Paris, I think we have the UC center. It's like programs in the UC center instead of like a real university college in that country. We offer quarter programs as well. So it's like flexible, yeah.
Then next is, did either of you apply for any scholarships?
I did not apply for any scholarship.
Okay, I'm gonna speak the truth. I did, and I felt it. It's just like so when you go to the scholarships, like there's like a whole list of it, and at the very first day you apply for like the universal one, like a UCAP, like a global one that's like common for every single program participant. It's just like you apply for that one, it's like up to 2,000 grants, $2,000 I think, and just like you apply for that if you if you don't get it, you just don't get it. If you do get it, you even have a chance, you even have like an eligibility to apply for like a further program that the scholarship that was the higher price, just like a lot of names, like a lot of names. It's just like, yeah, you do have the opportunities to apply these. And just like, I mean, the sad factor is like the acceptance rate is sort of competitive and the rate is a little low, but like still have a try. Just after you have been nominated by this program, just like give it a shot, just have a try, apply for it, and it's worth it. It's just like your small essays. Once if you really get it, you get it, congrats. It would be a good thing.
Yeah, the competitiveness for it is something that could also be changing with the times, because I studied abroad like 5-6 years ago. I did receive the UCEAP scholarship, which they usually state covers like the flight. And then what I also say to look out for is like scholarships that your school offers, the program itself offers, or scholarships that the country offers. So like for me at the time, there was a scholarship called JASO. I don't recall what it stands for, but it's something related to Japan. And so I applied for that. And with that, I received an $800 a month stipend. So that was something that really helped me during study abroad. For Kiana, who's with us on Zoom and will be back here for winter and spring, she applied for a scholarship that her school was offering. And then kind of to jump onto what Amanda said, since Amanda studied abroad in summer, granted I don't know her specific case, but during summer, kind of similar to here, there may be like less financial aid options available. So that's something to keep in mind as well. In this case though, the next question is about savings. Like any tips on saving? For me, I got my first like real big person job to prepare for study abroad.
Yeah, I think that study abroad in itself, it's whether like you're like you get a scholarship or not, just being in a new space, like trying different things, it's gonna cost money. So definitely doing some sort of budgeting ahead of time. Any limited research you can do about like what it might potentially cost to do traveling if you want to go there, how expensive is it to go out on a regular basis? Are there grocery stores nearby? That you can kind of use to make sure you get fed and things like that. If you do plan to travel, then I would look into multiple different travel methods, and there's kind of like a cost and benefits analysis you can do with that. I studied abroad in the Netherlands, and because I was in Europe, it was really easy to travel to other countries. So I knew a group of people who traveled to Switzerland. And Switzerland in itself is kind of expensive, and travel there is very expensive. So the difference between like them booking a plane and like researching how to do a train ride, there was a pretty big, like I think over $200 difference. It was much cheaper ride, but that train ride was 12 hours long. So it's kind of like you'll weigh your different options, and depending on what you do, you'll see what's more worth it to you. But I think doing things in groups makes things a lot easier. You can split things. If you want to go out to a really nice restaurant, you can buy like family portions, you can split the bill. But definitely just planning ahead in general is really important in like a big trip or a big like this. And yeah, if you want to like. If you know that you're traveling somewhere and you want to save up ahead of time, I think I did the same thing. Like I added a few extra hours to my training, and I asked my like boss if I could work more hours in some of my other jobs before, but just knew that I wanted to kind of build up my savings before.
Budgeting or saving. You can research everything before you go. Okay, so if you say, suppose I will go to Japan, okay, I'm gonna research, okay, where I'm gonna live, do I live in on campus, in the dorm, or do I live off campus, and how much do I cost, and is the transportation good, if I go to like Tokyo or Osaka, I'm going to one place, just like research transportation, so you can see how much you probably gonna spend by every unit of the time on your transportation, and also the food, simply just like the grocery, the price, the foods, you can just research the prices, and the savings like yeah, if you plan to pay everything on your own, no matter the tuition fee, the housing, or everything on your own, you should start plan the saving a little bit ahead the time you depart, and yeah, it's not like this, but it's not that bad. Don't worry, it's not that bad.
Yeah, I think you can also, like, I did a lot of just literally like searching on Reddit ahead of time to see what you can do locally, like that doesn't cost that much money. Yeah, a lot of these like study abroad location sites, like they have like some level of tourism there. So there's people that have been there and like share their own experiences online of what might be like more spending options to do things that are still fun without spending like an astronomical amount of money.
For our next question, this will be for Amanda. Since you studied abroad online, can you share what at least like one of your top moments, be it either academic or personal?
Yeah, I enjoyed that in the Netherlands, they had a 40 weeks. So I would go to school on Monday to Thursday, and they actually gave us Fridays off. So that gave me a little bit of more of an opportunity to travel on the weekends. So I got to go to 3 different countries. I visited France on the weekends, I visited England, and I got to see I went to Spain as well. I went to Barcelona. And Barcelona was really a highlight for me. Before I went, I researched ahead of time, and then an artist I really liked, Rosalia, was performing like in her own country of like Spain, and I got to see her in Barcelona. So yeah, I took a flight there on my weekend, and then I got to experience a lot of food and culture that weekend, and also do something like really related to my own interests during that time. So that was like a personal experience, and also academically, the school that I went to, they had a very specialized learning format. They did problem-based learning. I know that some people go to like high schools where there's problem-based learning, but it's kind of very student-focused and less like instructor-focused. So they really put an emphasis on learning from each other as peers, and that in itself was a really new educational experience. And I learned a lot about how people like learn within groups. So I got to have like new educational experiences and new like travel. That was a really big highlight.
You didn't go to Germany?
I know.
You were was just to
I
Germany.
know.
Border.
I only had 6 weeks. Yeah, Germany is somewhere I want to go if I go back to Europe.
For Matthew, since you recently finished the application process and are getting ready to go, do you have any tips regarding the application process?
Okay, here's the thing, how you apply is like that you apply on both the website. One is the UCI study program website, on the UCI, one is the UCEAP website. So you apply the programs on both the websites. It's a 2 different systems, but actually you're doing this. It will be the same. And just like you will be nominated afterwards after they have reviewed your application and you complete all you meet all the prerequisites and you're eligible to go. They just let you go. You will be nominated. Once you're nominated, you just you will have like instruction on UCEAP's website. You have your UCEAP account. You just follow all the like prerequisites, pre-departure, like the instructions. How do you follow everything? Like you apply for the housing, apply for the school admission. You have to additionally apply for the school admission, and you wait until you receive like both the letters from UCAP and from your host school. Once you have the 2 letters, you start your visa. Oh, that would be optional too, because like if you're like going, I think for the US, if you're like US passport holder, it's like for most countries, most like the European countries, like it's like if you don't stay over 180 days, you don't need to. No, 90 days, yes, like no more than 90 days is if you were doing the summer program. You didn't prepare for that visa.
I did not.
Yeah, like she didn't, because like 6 weeks is definitely like shorter than 90 days, but if in that case, it's like if that's like a semester that's longer, you need to. It's like you research on yourself whether the passport you hold, whether the US passport or like which country passport requires you to have like student visa to apply for it. And don't worry, UCEAP program, the website offers you the instruction to do everything. It tells you how to do it. So that's specific. Just look at the instructions to follow everything. Yeah, you have any questions in addition, just like contact either the UCI Study Abroad office or maybe just like your program coordinator. You will have a coordinator assigned within each program. You will have the email of this person, and it's convenient. And it's just like as long as you meet the prerequisite, you will be nominated. You will be able to go. It's not that hard.
The next topic will be about housing abroad. So I'll share for my program, it's called a dorm, but I think it's more comparable to like how you have a single apartment here. So I had a single that had its own bathroom and it had a like tiny kitchen, really just a stove. But then we did have like a shared area where we had a cafeteria and also a study room. And to be honest, the housing was one of the reasons why I chose this program in particular for Japan, because it came with a meal plan. It's not very common for programs to come with a meal plan, and I thought that was one way to really help me with budgeting, knowing that I would have breakfast and dinner covered. And for you guys, like, what was the housing like for your programs?
Yeah, for me, I think that they gave us an option of either doing a single room or shared, so I think one other person, a double. And you could either do it in a building that was like shared kitchen and like two communal bathrooms on the floor, so very much like dorm style, probably similar to how they have it like in the Middle Earth and Mesa Towers or the classics at UCI. And then the other option was like having a personal kitchen in your room. And I think that option, like you had to have like someone else that was sharing the living space. So they offered a few different options for me. I chose to have a single room in kind of like the communal kitchen area. And I lived in a university where they, in the summer, had a lot of international guests. So there were a lot of people there, like, that were not only from the UCEAP programs, like, for instance, there were people visiting, like, from Hong Kong that were, like, international students taking, like, study abroad classes there, too. So that was a really cool experience. Definitely, your housing is an opportunity to meet a lot of people and get comfortable and make friends. I know someone else who studied abroad in Spain, and I think that this is another reason why it's important to make sure you're on top of the steps for your specific study abroad program, because she had to find her own housing in Spain, and she kind of had to do her research, find like a landlord and things like that, and they gave her really limited resources. But she also stayed like in a dorm style like apartment. But sometimes you will stay with family, and there's just different options depending on what program you want to do. And it's definitely something to make sure that you're on ahead of time. I don't know.
The housing, okay, the one I applied would also be like a on-campus housing, but rather than like a student dorm, I think that's more of like a student apartment, like an ACC apartment, so it's like, you know, the apartment types instead of the dorm. It's like, that one, yeah, it's like when I submitted is a preference, not like an exact thing, just like how you apply for support. It's like preferences out there. It's like, I think I'm enrolled in this room. I wish I would get this room. And yeah, but the housing is like, honestly, that's like a little bit longer. It's like 20 minutes walk, over 20 minutes walk from my apartment to the main campus, to the construction buildings, just like I think just like how far the ACC, like the UCI, how long that walks from there to the main campus. So I would probably go get a bike, I guess. Or maybe just simply I just take a bus, because you know that's like a city instead of like we have necessarily, but just like it does more it would be more convenient to just get a bike. I would go get a bike, I guess.
A lot of different housing options. Some programs also have homestays where you can stay with the local family. Some programs like also for mine with the dorm, we were staying with other international students as well. So I have friends, some of my friends are from Korea, some went to Australia, and then some were students from other regions in Japan. We do have a question about studying abroad like for 3 years. And so I would say for that, it really kind of depends on what your major is. We have had students who studied abroad like 3 different times, maybe not a year each time, but perhaps do like a fall semester, like once each school year. That's possible. We have seen it, but it just requires a lot of planning in advance. I know for the student that I have in mind, she was an international studies major, so that definitely did help with going abroad multiple times. One of our past academic advisors studied abroad twice. And she was actually a psychology and sociology major. So not necessarily a major you think would have a lot of requirements that would be counted abroad, but she studied abroad in Argentina and also in Ireland. So then I wanted to open for, is there anyone in the room that has any questions? Yes.
Did any of you decide like learn the language when you got there, or did you choose to learn language before?
Language courses is the question.
So I started taking Japanese at UCI, mainly because my major is international studies, so I had to go all the way up through the 2B level. But also I wanted to have at least some background before going abroad, since in Japan, Japanese is the national language. All my classes were taught in English, but they did also offer language courses as well. So even if like your major doesn't have to be international studies for you to do a language, but if you're studying somewhere where English isn't the national language, maybe take one language.
My program required me to take at least a French language class. But the only option to replace that is like I take just like a normal class taught in French instead of like French language class. I was like, no, I'm not gonna do that. So I'm just like, I just learn the language itself. So it's like mine is like required, and it's like it's not from the start. It's not from beginning. It's like from the it's like intermediate, and you need to take a placement test for French, and I start from the intermediate level or similar level instead of from the beginning, which is also why my program required me like 1 year levels French language in the UC school. So I took like like a French level C UCI to meet the prerequisite for there. But for like but in terms of like general like the other programs, it's just like some programs do have like requirements for you to take the language class, and any other classes will be English. Some will be like, okay, it doesn't have to be like the language. There will be like a language class, it just may be anything English. Some will be like, okay, not only you need to do the language, you also have to take classes taught in the local language, which is like really like advanced level. So it really depends on different programs. Just like, and some programs can even be special. I remember there's like a programming in France. It's like that's like a French learning program, and that program requires you not having done any level of French language, because the program itself allows you to learn French from the start. So they don't want you to start from the start with the so it's like different, just like you just need to check the prerequisite, the specific prerequisite each program you will see on the it tells you everything. And when you really go there, if it's optional, you have the right to choose what languages to take. It's on your own, but we recommend you to some non-English languages, that's beneficial for you.
Yeah, the Dutch people pretty much all speak English, and I didn't learn that much Dutch before. I wish I did. It would have really benefited me, especially when I was traveling, because people can speak English, but the signs were difficult to me, like understanding where I was going, and that caused me some pain at the beginning. Yeah, I should have done probably a little bit. I did some Duolingo, just not.
You should recognize Dutch from.
Yeah,
They're super similar Dutch and English.
Yeah, there definitely were, and within specific, like there was no prerequisite for me to learn. Everything was in English, in terms of coursework, but yeah, I would recommend if you're going to a country where they speak something other than English, that it's beneficial to learn a language at least a little bit.
So then I'll do the last question for our panel members, but for those present, like if there are any questions after the time, I know it's reaching 4 o'clock soon, I'll still be around in the room, so feel free to ask me. But for our last question, just like, is there anything, if there's someone that's still on the fence about deciding to study abroad, is there anything that you want to do?
Just plan early. I don't know what years each of you are down the table, but just like plan everything early. You check the eligibility and date on the website. You plan the timeline. And then you also plan the time for the application. When is it to apply for this program? The time for you to go to the program. It's like just plan early.
I tell everyone if they can, then they should study abroad, because it's a really unique opportunity, especially with undergrad and with UCAAP, because there's so many established programs, and there's so many people like on those stages, like UCI study abroad is so helpful and they're so kind. I don't know if you've had the opportunity.
You're nice people.
They're so nice. Everybody on like the other end at the school that I was studying abroad with was so helpful as well. Like I was so scared about traveling because I had to do it on my own. That's another thing about study abroad is like there's a system set up for you, but like things for most, I think for most programs, like you have to buy the plane ticket yourself, and it's like you don't know anyone going with you. Like I was like, oh my goodness, I'm gonna take this like 13-hour flight by myself, be in an airport that I've never been to before, and then have to take like multiple trains, like 4 hours to like my end destination. So I was so scared, but there were so many people that I knew. I had the number saved in my phone. I had printed out like all these resources. I knew that if my phone wasn't gonna work, that I could talk to someone and they would help me. So just rest assured that if you're on the fence because you're not sure if you want to go or you're nervous about it, that you shouldn't be nervous. There's so many people who've done it before you, and there's so many resources to help you, and you're never gonna be. So that's what I would say if you're on the fence about whether you truly want to. I recommend it.
Thank you to our panelists, and again, if anyone has any questions, after the 4 o'clock time, I'll still be hanging around. So we'll just go ahead and move on to our closing. One is that we do have a social sciences study abroad Instagram page. There is a UCI study abroad page, you should follow them as well. But if you wanted to be featured on our page, that's something that we're starting up again. On screen right now, we have Kiana, who is one of our peer advisors, who I mentioned is currently studying abroad. So definitely feel free to follow our study abroad page or our study abroad Instagram, and you can get updates there too whenever we post or have things on our story. Lastly, we do have an exit survey if people here and on the Zoom can scan a QR code. It's a very short quiz, mostly for fun.
And Matthew and I, like Justin said, we are peer advisors for the social sciences office. So we're there like every week if you have questions for us personally. Yeah, if you want to get a hold of us, then that's a good way is through anything like sciences related, like our email is on our website and things like that if you have questions for us.
Yeah, if you stop by our office and wanted to do walk-in advising, like if you just wanted to hear more about like someone's experience or maybe had more questions about like their program in particular, definitely swing by our office. We do have in the last page of the quiz, we have all of our contact, including the Instagram page again, but also our website and the social science PA